including faux fur. These are the materials that we're going to use. They're all listed in the description below. Okay, first of all, we're going to do is we're going to take our 3/4 inch dowel rod. It's 3/4 by 4 3/4, and we're going just to wrap the bottom part of it up with the black craft foam. Just go all the way around and meet those two seams in the middle. Do not overlap those on that one. We're going to try and keep it not so bulky in the back, and craft foam tends to get a little bit bulky when it overlaps. Okay, then we're going to do the same thing for the other one. And the reason why I'm using wood is because I'm going to put this all together on a platform. And so I want to be able to use wood glue so it'll really stand up good and it'll hold the gnome well. Okay, go ahead and roll that up. And then I wasn't really happy with the color of the black. I wanted a little bit deeper black. So after I glue this all together, I'm going to take it outside and I'm going to paint it. I'm just going to spray that with a can of matte black Krylon paint. And it doesn't matter if you get it over the top part of the stick. We're going to cover it up with his pants. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and take the felt. It's a 3 inch by 2.5 inch piece of felt. This is going to be his pants. We're just going to wrap it around. Just make sure that your seam is in the back, the same as the seam that was on the boot. And just get that glued down real well. And we're going to do the same thing for the other side as well. Then we're going to come back in, and anything that's overlapping on the top or the bottom, we need to be sure and trim off, because we need to make sure that we have enough space for the wood to catch the other wood when we glue the two together. We need them to bond together, and if you have any fabric in the way, they won't bond. Then I'm going back in there with some Joann's ribbon. It's just some rhinestone ribbon, and I'm just going to wrap it around the top part of the boot just to kind of separate the boot from the pant. Okay, next we're going to make the toe of the shoe. We're going to use black Sculpey clay. And I am just going to roll that up in a ball, about a 1 inch ball. I'm going to cut it in half. And then I'm going to take another dowel rod just like our leg, and I'm just going to literally push it up there to make an indent around it. And then we're going to bake it at 250 degrees for 15 minutes. Okay, we're going to take two 2.5 inch discs. We're going to use some wood glue, glue those together. That's going to be the base for our gnome. And then we're going to make sure that they're straight, and then we're going to put those aside and let them dry. Okay, while that dries, we're going to go ahead and cut out our beard. We're doing a 1 inch by 2 inch. And we are just going to trim around a U around the bottom, back up the other side, and we're just going to clean that off and set it aside. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and build our body. I'm going to take a piece of the pine wood derby weight. I'm going to glue it right into the middle of our base, and then I'm going to roll it up into some non-woven fabric. And this is going to be the body. I was going to use a pool noodle, but I needed to cinch in his waist, and it was tearing the noodle, so I went this route instead. Just roll that up. Glue it down one side, put your hand inside there, and flatten that out. Now we're going to go ahead and add polyfill to it. And I went ahead and drew a line up the back from the bottom up to 4.5 inches, because that's where we're going to stop our body. So go ahead and before you stuff it, put that line in there, and you'll see it here in a minute. And then we're going to go ahead and add another one of those discs down in there, and that's why I drew the line. We are pushing that below that line that I drew. Now, when you glue this in, you need to make sure that that is level. Trim off any excess, and then we are just going to make sure that that piece of wood is level. So take your time on this step. Just make sure it's level, because that's what the hat is going to attach to. All right, then trim any excess off, and then we are going to add slits in it, and then glue that down to that piece of wood to kind of tie all that together. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and take the body, and we're going to come up 1.5 inches from the base, and we are going to do a tight drawstring right there. Just tie it up real tight, because that's going to be the waist. We want to accentuate his waist. Then we're going to take our fabric. We're going to put an insert in the center, because that's going to be like the insert on the bottom part of our jacket. and we're going to tie it up with a string in the same place that we tied it up a minute ago. So you want to make that the waistband right there. We're not going to glue it yet. We're just going to tie it up. Now go ahead and open that up, and that's where that insert comes into play. And you can adjust that here in a little bit after we tie it up. And we're just going to glue the very top part only, not the bottom part yet. Just make sure that that V is equal on both sides. Go ahead and tie that up. And then we're going to go ahead and glue the top part only, but not the bottom part. So just overlap it right there in the center and glue it down. And we're putting the seam in the front because the beard's going to cover it up, and then we'll have a nice smooth edge on the back. Then go ahead and take your glue gun and glue the top part in. And you need to not trim that out. It's going to be like that. Flip that over, tie that knot again, a little bit tighter, and clip that off. Go ahead and pull your felt down, the black felt. I put the glue on first, and then I started pulling it down, and it worked because the glue was dry. But go ahead and pull that down to where both points of that front of that jacket are touching that black felt, and then we're going to trim off the excess here in a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and glue it right to that black felt, and then snip off the part that's showing out from underneath that jacket. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and add our accents. We're just going to come over here and put this white craft foam on here, and that's a 1/4 inch strip. And the way I showed you just then, that's how you're going to lay it. So we're going to put one here and then one overlapping on the opposite side, and then we are going to curve those up. And we're curving them up around the beard. So here in a second, I'm going to pull my beard in, lay it on there just to make sure that you do not cover up where the beard is going to be, because we are going to add some accent pieces to it after that. Just pull it on up, grab your beard, and that's where you're going to add it. And to make sure that they're even, I went ahead when I did the opposite side, I took a pin and I just did a little line up at the top of the fabric so I knew where to curve it and go up. Cut off any excess and then do the same thing for this side. And right there, I went ahead and did that. Then I went ahead and marked it with a pin up there so I knew exactly where I was going once I put glue on it. Okay, now we're going to come back in and add the belt. It's a half inch wide belt. We're going to go ahead and wrap that around, and then we're going to trim it off in the middle. So we just want to make it overlap and then trim it off. Then we're going to come back in with a piece of glitter craft foam that measures 1/2 inch by 3/4 inch, and just put it over the top of it just to give it a little bit of look like it's a buckle. Okay, now we're going to go build his hat. We're going to take another one of those discs. Go ahead and cut a circle out of your fabric, probably at least 1 inch wider than the disc. And then we're just going to start gluing it all the way around. You don't have to do any slits on this at all. Just glue it around. And that's kind of a furry type fleece. But I'll tell you right now, it does shed a little bit when you cut it. But once you get past that, when you get it all put together, it looks really good. Okay, then we're going to take this piece and we're just going to make each side meet in the middle and glue that down. So we're going to equally fold it over in the middle. Then we're going to go ahead and glue up both sides. And then we're going to go ahead and attach our beard. We're just coming down 1/2 inch from the top edge. Glue that down. And then we're going to go ahead and glue it down to the body itself as well. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and attach our hat. We're going to start with our top part of our hat, and we're going to glue it to our base. Hold that on there until it's dry real good. And then we're going to take this part and wrap it around so that the back seams are together. And just make sure that this part is flush to the top of the hat. So you want it to be right up to the top edge. Then when we glue it in, we're going to leave a space open for the nose. So make sure you do not glue that part in. Skip the nose area and then continue to glue around. And take some time on this part. I know I'm kind of making it look like I'm doing it really fast, but make sure that you get this glued into the back real well. And when you get it all the way around and glued in, you're going to glue both ends together so that it does not come open and it's one solid piece. So right there, you're going to glue it. Spend some time holding that. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and attach the nose. And I'm using the flat beads. I started using those here just recently and I really like them. So I'm going to go ahead and just put that underneath there. And then we're going to glue the top part of the hat to the top part of the nose. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and get our base ready. I'm marking the center point of this piece of wood. It's a 4" by 4", and I'm putting both of those legs on there just to line it up. And then I'm going to take another dowel rod the same size of those. Go ahead and draw your circles around these bases. Take another dowel rod, and we're going to put some painter's tape on the end of it, trim it out, because we want to be sure and put this sticker on top of where we just drew those circles so that we do not paint where those two wood pieces are going to connect. You have to have wood on wood without paint in order for it to adhere. So make sure you don't skip this step. Make sure you put those down there before you paint. Then we're going to paint it with a gloss cherry red Krylon paint, the base. And then I'm going to peel those off, and that's where I'm going to glue my legs to it. We're just going to take some wood glue and attach those. Just make sure that they're straight, they're lined up good, and you don't have any excess fabric over the bottom of them. Just go ahead and get them painted on there real good. Don't overly use wood glue because it does dry yellow. So just make sure if you got any that oozed out while you're holding it down there, that you do get it cleaned up. And then we're going to put something on top to hold it in place and let that dry. Okay, now that that's dry, we're going to go ahead and attach the body to the legs. Just put some glue on top, and you can get a little bit messy on this one. You're not going to see it anyway. Just center it onto that gnome, stand him up, let him dry. Then we're going to go ahead and take him, and we're going to attach his little toes of his boots to his shoes. Just going to put a little dollop of hot glue on there, and then put those in place, and do that for both of them, like that. Okay, while that's drying, we're going to go ahead and build the arms. We're going to take the dowel rods and we're going to cut them at 3 3/4 inch. And we're going to cover them with a 4" by 3 1/4 inch felt. On the long side, go ahead and put your dowel rod. And then we are going to roll these up. And we're going to roll them up tight. And then just glue that off. And that's going to be towards the gnome. You're not really going to see it once we get it glued on, but try to get it as tight as you can so that when we put those beads on there, they fit. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and add a ball to each end for his hand. And then the red balls, the red half balls, I painted those with that same gloss cherry paint that I did the base with, and that's going to be his shoulder. So we're just going to glue that to the shoulder part, and we're going to do it on both of them. Okay, then we're going to come in and we're going to add a 2" strip of ribbon around the top and around the bottom to kind of dress it out a little bit. And that's the same ribbon that we used on his legs. So right below the shoulder bead and right above the hand bead. And then we are going to glue these straight to the gnome's body. Okay, and then right on the gnome's body, we're going to put it about right there. Now remember that there is a center section where his waist is. So try not to glue where that waist is. Otherwise, you're going to see the glue down this side. So go up that and down that. And if you need to mark it with a pen or a pencil, do that before you do it. So make sure you leave that void there for that waist. And we're going to do that for both of them. Okay, now that that's done, we're going to just take a regular hole punch and we're going to punch some craft foam little dots and we're going to dress out his jacket. So we're going to put 3 on each side. Just make sure that you line them up good. So go ahead and do the first one. And then when you're doing the other side, you might want to stand them up every once in a while you're gluing them on just to make sure that it is glued on evenly. And then the same thing for this side. Just check it each time. Make sure that those line up. Okay, that's pretty much it. If you like the video, hit like. If you want to see future videos, hit subscribe. If you want to be notified when I have another video, hit the bell. Thanks for watching.